Welcome back to the 100th episode of Behind the Play. And, I'm really thankful that I've got to 100 episodes, but I'm more thankful just for the people I've kind of come alongside with me on the journey. And today I'm with three people that have really helped me out a lot on this journey and three titans in the sports media industry in Ottawa. I'm first joined by the second best pickleball player in Ottawa, besides Daniel Alfredson, Ian Mendes. Then I am as well joined by
Wow.
Kyle Bukauskas, who has the best hair in TV. And then last but certainly not least, the face of TSN and maybe the best athlete in Ottawa right now, Claire Hanna. Thanks so much for taking the time and doing this. And before we get started, I just want to say, like, you guys have been so incredibly kind to me now covering the Senators, and just been awesome to watch you guys from, in your office per se, a little bit like Brady Kachuk right beside the net, with all three of you. And you guys are even better people than you are journalists. So thanks so much for doing this, and this should be a lot of fun. And I'm excited for some Ian Mendes, like Brian Gibbons, kind of shout outs throughout the podcast. So I'm expecting that, and thanks so much, guys.
The
Hey,
kindness
listen,
stops after this episode.
that's right.
That's it.
Did you notice that he brought us on? He said we are better people than journalists, but he didn't say anything good about our journalistic qualities.
Yeah.
He just said Claire's the best athlete, Kyle has the best hair, I'm a good pickleball player, but he didn't say anything about our journalistic skills.
Yeah,
I was
and
gonna-
honestly, my biggest goal is just to like do my hair so I can be in the same conversation as Kyle's hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just it's one of those where when you've got something to gripe about with somebody, and you go, look, really nice person, but like I feel that was the crux of all of our intros.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of yeah buts. That's exactly it. It feels like the
Yeah.
Sens season. Yeah, they're good, but yeah. So before we get started, I have a fun question for you guys, and it's kind of on the, if you guys went out, all three of you, to dinner, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this. I should have probably asked before. Who's most likely to grab the bill?
We've never done it.
Oh, boy.
I would say Ian.
Yeah. I think so. He's he never lets me pay for the pickleball hours, so
That's
I
right.
feel dinner is a natural.
Would
He's
it
got
be
the athletic money now. I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Yeah. I'm the guy behind the paywall, right? So in theory, and I'm the oldest guy, right? So in theory, I should be picking up the bill.
But I would fight for it. I would pretend like, oh, I'll pay for it. But then, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Fine,
Yeah.
Ian, if you insist.
Yeah.
I feel Kyle
Yeah.
would just be the most neutral, just kind of let's see where this goes. Let's see who pays.
Just go with the flow. That's it. Yeah, it's easy. Just wait for Ian to make the first move and be like, Ian, come on. You don't got to do that.
Yeah.
That's the move.
You guys have obviously been covering the team for so long. I guess just like, but you also call Ottawa home. What do you think are like some of the underrated features of Ottawa as a city that, people might not know about just from the outside, but that you guys love?
Who
Who wants to start?
Okay.
You
know what?
You've been here the longest.
Yeah. You know what? And I think what's great about this is the three of us, Kyle, Claire, and I, we all have kind of Western Canadian either roots or kind of, we lived there. I grew up in Vancouver. That's where I went to high school. I love the West Coast, but I've lived here now 30 years. Like coming up in September will be 30 years since I rolled into this market as a 17-year-old journalism student. And I love it. A couple of things I love about Ottawa. One, I think I love the fact that there's multiple universities. There's actually a younger vibe to this city than people think. People act like it's this kind of stuck up government town, the town that fun forgot. But I think there's a great youthful energy to our city. I love that. And, I'll say this because we've got two kids that are almost out of the school system. It's a great place to raise a family. Like you feel super safe. You feel, like it's a great place to live. So I absolutely, and if we talk about housing prices, we can all agree when we match it against Vancouver, nothing touches Ottawa.
Kyle and Claire?
Claire, you go.
Okay, well, I also feel like I have not been here for that long. Like I've only been covering the Senators for 2.5 years, but what I really appreciate about Ottawa, and I'm an outdoorsy girly. So the fact that there is a lot of cross-country skiing tracks within the city, I don't even have to go farther than a 10-minute walk from my house. And I've got access to like minimum 20 kilometers of cross-country skiing. If I drive 30 minutes north, I've got Gatineau. I haven't even discovered half of the things I want to get into in this region. Like I want to do a canoe trip in Algonquin Park. So I've been really impressed by the outdoor space and the active nature of the city. And yeah, like I will say though, Ian, like I think housing prices are pretty pricey in Ottawa. I was expecting, a little bit more affordability. So I realize Vancouver is so expensive, but I was a university student, so I was always trying to find a place for $500 to $700 a month, and I succeeded in doing that in some pretty crappy basement suites. But finding affordable housing in Ottawa has not been easy. So, anyways, off to Kyle now.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I agree with that point, Claire, 1,000%. And I was going to mention just the outdoorsy part too, like how close everything is. Claire mentioned just the cross-country skiing. We got into cycling a little bit a few years ago, having the Gatineau Park to go ride in there, to be able to go out to Dunrobin or Carp. It's also easily accessible. And I just love like the variety and such a closed amount of space too, like going to Almont or going up to Cobden, like wherever, like just all these little different towns in the valley that you don't have to go too far away from is something that I've really come to enjoy too. Like one of the things we love doing, like on Sundays when I come home from the road, like just try to find a different coffee shop to go visit somewhere within the general vicinity, and you just get so many different flavors and feels for what this space can offer. So I really do enjoy that, and it's a sneaky good like food town as well. Like Ian mentioned the town that Fun forgot. There's great spots to go grab a bite, and we don't get out all that often now, especially now living out in Stittsville. It's a bit more of a drive to get it closer to downtown and that, but there's plenty of great options and lots of really cool local spots to try beyond just restaurants. There's a really good, local flavor to go along with a bunch of different categories that Ottawa can offer that we've really come to enjoy too.
I know, like for all three of you, like you people would say like, oh, you guys cover the stars, but in a lot of ways, you guys are a bit of stars. I'm gonna pump your tires here just a little bit. What's it like when you interact with the Sens fans here in Ottawa, and maybe any stories that kind of come to mind? I feel like Ian has like just a multitude of them.
2 decades of stories of covering this thing. No, I love it. Like, and Kyle and Claire could talk about this because, I spent 12 years on TV. And when you spend that amount of time on TV, you automatically get recognized no matter almost where you go. And like, even now I've been off TV for so many years, but people will still come up to me and talk about the Senators. Like I was just at Farm Boy yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm, ordering burgers because it's 14 degrees in February. And I'm like, I think I get a barbecue. And the butcher doesn't say anything to me other than, are we trading Tarasenko? Like, boom, like right off the hop. And it's a great conversation. And so those happen to me, but I'm sure it happens to these two just as much. And it's a real honor because I've never once, like I take a lot of heat online and that's fine. I've never once had a person come up to me and say anything even remotely rude. Like it's been so positive and every interaction's been great and everything has been super upbeat. So I love it. And I always think like there's going to be a time at some point when people don't remember me or don't know me. And so appreciate it and appreciate that the people want to talk about the job that you have.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Just that whole approach to it all, because like I remember when I was a kid growing up, like as much as I loved watching NHL stars, like television commentators and like just the personalities you saw on your TV screen, like that was a big deal to me as well. So anytime like a young fan comes up and says hi or whatever, it's just a really special thing that I don't take for granted. And some of like, and they're, oh, sorry for bugging you. Like you're never a bother. Like I'm more than happy to talk shop with you for a couple of minutes. But it's funny, like in the age now of, selfies and getting a picture with somebody. Like it feels, I don't know. Sometimes you kind of feel, and I'm not complaining or anything, but it is a weird space to kind of exist in at times where, I don't know, sometimes you feel like you're like an animal, like a petting zoo, and people are kind of pointing out at you like, oh, look at that over there. Or,
is the hair real?
someone,
Can I touch the hair?
like that, or they come up and hey, can I get a photo? And yeah, absolutely. And you take the picture and you want to say like, so like, where are you from? Kind of like, are you you a Sens fan or whatever? And they're just like, hey, great, thanks. And like they're on to the next thing. Like they've used you for the 5 seconds they needed you for the picture, and then it's like you're gone again. So anyway, it's as I say, it's I feel so grateful to be in the spot and being able to interact with so many different fans of hockey or sports in general, that are familiar with me because of what I do for a living. I don't take any of that for granted, but it can make for some interesting interactions at times too, but it's all part of the fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And I would see it as a concern in a way in working in TV, if nobody ever said anything, because then I'm worried that people are not watching. Because to me, the getting recognized is, oh my gosh, I am so grateful that people are interested in my work with the Senators, or whether that's the Women's World Cup, whatever. And it would be a concern otherwise, because then I feel like TV and writing, we're all in these precarious situations right now with viewership declining. And so I always just find it a really grateful moment. And I think people in Ottawa are so great. Like there's a guy who lives in my neighborhood, and I remember I was grocery shopping and I was in the parking lot and he was like, Claire, Hanna, what's up? And I'm like, how's it going? And then I saw him again on the street driving with his kids, and he pulls down the window, and then he DM'd me, and this was very kind and he wasn't being creepy, but he's like, hey, if you're alone here and you ever want to come over for dinner with my family, you're welcome to join us, over Easter if you're alone. And I just think that kind of thing is so kind, because it's just showing that the community cares about one another, and people are just looking out for one another. So I find it very flattering, but also important for our industry.
Hey,
that's awesome.
Quick question. Where's the weirdest place you've ever been recognized? Like for me, I think about this, and I was at the San Diego Zoo one time with my family, and someone's like, this is a really weird question. Are you Ian Mendes? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like San Diego Zoo, I think, is the one for me. What about you guys? Most random place that you've ever been recognized?
Okay, I've got mine. It's not that random
Go for it.
It was in Prince Edward County. I think I was in Picton, and it was like a little brewery one summer. But like that's not Ottawa, but it's a little removed. But that was the most random, and I don't think it's that random. That's all I can think of.
So 2018 Cup Final, Washington, Vegas. We had traveled to Vegas before Game 5, and the off day covered the skates and that at T-Mobile, and we were staying at a hotel like just off the strip. It was about a 20-minute walk from the arena, and I'm waiting to walk across Vegas Boulevard, and like you think you're like in the middle of the strip. There's like everything going on, and I'm standing at the intersection, and there's a limo at the light. And then all of a sudden, a window rolls down in the back. And like, as the light turns green and they come through the intersection, like some guy sticks his head out the window and is like, it's Kyle Bukauskas, woo! And they just take off. And I was like, oh my hell. And like everyone else, like no one else reacted around me, because it's like Vegas. Like people are yelling at each other all the time on the strip. But that was, I did not have that, expect anything like that, that place of all places. I know we were there covering hockey at the time. But as you know, that's just one small part of what's going on the strip on any given day. So that was a weird one.
Note to Sens fans: if you see Kyle Bukauskas, do that. That's
Vegas, I love it. That's such a flex in Vegas, Kyle. I feel like to get recognized on the strip there, because I'm sure all the other people around you were like, "Oh my god, who's this guy?"
I think like they were like, who are they talking about? Like, I'm sure they had no idea. Anyway, it was just, I don't know. I don't know if it was like a bachelor party or guys were there for the game the next night. But anyway, they were having a good time. It looked like fun.
It's like all the people that are just big on TikTok and you have no clue who the heck they are. That's you, Kyle. You're in your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
People have no idea who the heck I am. That's the great descriptor.
To just like to your jobs, and I will compliment you now, Ian, and everyone else. Just like watching you guys do your work, and you guys are so good, such great questions, obviously on TV. You guys do such great broadcasts, but obviously I think a lot of journalism students, people like who want to make into this industry would look to you three as kind of pillars and people to look up to. Maybe what advice would you give to young aspiring journalists in the sports media industry?
This is just Alex's way of trying to mine information from us. Hey, this isn't
That
this
is
isn't
not
for other
it.
people. This is for you. I like, and I'm really fortunate. I've been able to teach at Carleton in the journalism program the last few years. And one of the things I'm super, super passionate about is trying to help young people in the industry, trying to help new people get in, because it can be intimidating. The piece of advice I try and give them as they're coming into this industry is, I often will tell young reporters, have big ears and a little mouth. Meaning, like, and I don't mean that in a derogatory, like just try to take in stuff. Listen to everything, pay attention, and you don't have to come in there and assert yourself. So, and I hate that it comes off so crudely as have big ears and a little mouth, but I think it's just more of a mindset of just be respectful of people, and if you find older reporters aren't helpful to you, that's not on you as a reporter. That speaks to them, as you will find enough reporter. Kyle and Claire would be two that are so helpful to young reporters. Like, find people. You'll never have a hard time finding people to give you advice, but just take that advice to heart and don't feel like you have to come in and sort of blow everybody away and impress everybody right off the hop.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember one of my first few days at Sportsnet shadowing Arash Madani, and that was one of his lines. It was like, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut. That was his advice for me at the time. Like, and it's so true. Like, it's have a bunch of questions. It's totally okay that you don't have much answers in the early going. That just comes with time. And even, I'm doing it for 10 years now. I still feel I don't even have half the answers that I would like to have at this juncture. But it just comes with learning and being around it. So and for me, it's like taking it. I don't know. I got such the reason why I got an opportunity at a young age to be somewhere like Sportsnet was because I tried to take advantage of every opportunity that I could prior to that. Like when I was going to school in Calgary. I did all that I could outside of the classroom, what was required for the actual program I was in, like doing commentary for, men's and women's basketball on campus, men's and women's volleyball. Like, I had no idea how to call a volleyball game, but I wanted to try, and that led me to meeting somebody that had a connection to Sportsnet that ended up opening that door a little while later. So had I just kind of stuck to what was being asked of me in order to graduate, I'm not sure what I would be doing right now. I certainly wouldn't be, being part of this terrific conversation here with you all today. So that's kind of one that I know you hear a lot, but I lived it, and I really do believe that the Elliot Friedman line, the right people are always watching. So if you're putting yourself out there and trying to take advantage of different opportunities that could be there, even if they're not the glamorous ones initially, it could lead to something that maybe you're more attracted to and more passionate about down the road.
And for me, I always tell people there's two things. I think there's a lot of different roads to get to your dream job. I think the old traditional pipeline, and I argue I might have been one of the last journalists to go through that old pipeline, because so many of the jobs that I had don't exist anymore. Like starting in Lloydminster and then going to City Television in Edmonton and then going to Global Saskatoon as a reporter, as a VJ, and then CTV Regina. Like that pipeline, some of my jobs have been eliminated. But my advice is to be very flexible and learn how to do a lot of different things, because I don't think the roles that are just singular exist anymore. They want you to be able to do social media. And so if somebody right now is in journalism school and they want to be a TV reporter, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just do some TikToks where you're reporting on a basketball game? in a different format, be creative, think differently, because the mediums that existed 20 years ago almost don't exist the same way today. And I think in 5 years, even in a year or two from now, they're going to look different. So get creative with your storytelling. And one more point, this is kind of similar to what Ian was saying about big ears, small mouth. And I'm stealing this from Chris Hadfield, but I think he's a genius. He, in his book, he says that sometimes when you're entering a new position or a new situation or a new job, everybody tries so hard to be what he calls a 1. You start as a 0. But if you try too hard to be a 1, so you can get in people's way, you can get annoying, and just you can become quickly a -1. And to recover from being a -1 is really hard. So if you go into a new position, try to be a 0. And that's where you're listening and just taking it all in and absorbing. And almost, I don't want to be misconceived with doing the bare minimum, but just try to observe what's happening. And then you're very likely to become a positive 1. But yeah, just, I think a lot of people try to do too much and be too impressive, and that ends up being a hindrance.
That's really interesting. I guess on that note, just you guys are all in almost, Claire, you mentioned dream job. What is like the best part of the job for either or all of you?
Getting paid to watch sports. So I just stopped in there. I don't feel like I work. Sometimes when I'm covering things, I'm like, wait a second, I am being paid to be here. Like, this is something that I would pay money to attend, but I get to be here. And not only do I get to be here, I get to go behind the scenes. I get to go on a bench. I get to talk to this athlete. I get to do things that people would only dream of doing. I can't believe sometimes that this is something that I get to do a living doing.
Do you have a pinch me moment, Claire?
Okay, but I want to hear them too. And then
Okay.
I'm going to think about well, Christine Sinclair, probably interviewing her in her very last match ever for Canada. I would say that was a major career highlight, and I don't know if it'll ever get matched.
That was awesome. Ian.
Yeah,
let Kyle go.
Sure. No, I like similar, like just being able to be like, when I first thought about working in this world, like I wanted to be an anchor, be on the desk, read highlights. I never really thought about being in the field and actually attending games, big events. And now that's what I do. It's man, really, really special being able to witness some of these moments that ended up being, memorable for years and years down the line. Moments in sports, outcomes of games, playoff series, you name it. Things that I never would otherwise have a chance to witness, firsthand. That's really cool. Being on the ice after the Stanley Cup's handed out and just, being right in the face of all the emotion of the players and their families and staff that just, reached their ultimate goal. That makes just the long season and all the work that you do leading up to that, very, very much worth it. It's really special.
Yeah, you know what I'd say for me, and I think Kyle and Claire would agree, because we're 3 very lucky individuals that we work for companies and entities that are willing to spend money on travel, and we've all had a chance to do some pretty unique trips. I've had a chance to go overseas in the last year with the Athletic. I'm going to California next week to cover the deadline. And I'm mindful of that. I'm really appreciative. And I try to really live in the moment. Every time I take a trip, I think to myself, okay, like if this is it, if this is the last trip you take because the industry is changing, like appreciate it. Like really appreciate how lucky you are. And I've been really lucky to go all over the planet, whether I was working with Sportsnet. The beauty of TSN radio is I think the longest trip I ever took was to Montreal. So that was the budget at TSN 1200. It was like, maybe you can go to Montreal. But that was about it. But again, now with the Athletic, I get to travel. And I think Kyle and Claire would agree, when you get to go places, like it's pretty neat. Like a lot of people would take these trips. Like Claire said, you can't believe you're being paid for this, to go visit these cities and go do these things. And on top of that, it's kind of your job. So that, to me, that's always been like the really cool aspect.
I'd always love to get paid to go to Australia, Claire. That would be.
I know. I was going to chime in. I sometimes like sacrifice my sleep and health when I travel, because like, for example, I remember arriving in Australia and we didn't know if we'd ever get back to Sydney. We had one day in Sydney to acclimate to the time zone change. But I was like, screw this. Like, I want to see the Sydney Opera House. And I'm like doing everything I can in these 12 hours of daylight, because if I never make it back to Sydney, I don't want to regret sleeping off the jet lag in my hotel room. Like, so I go so hard in my time off around prep and events in cities just to experience that.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you have a favorite city in the NHL for any three of you to be on the road?
I feel like I haven't traveled as much as these guys, but for me, I love New York, and it's an amazing city, and you know, so much energy, and MSG is iconic. So I would say, yeah, but I've been to, I mean, these guys have been everywhere.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm looking at it through like just the coolest city to be at, and then also sometimes it's like convenience, the arena you're working in, if it's a better setup or just better atmosphere. Like I love going to Tampa, for example, because it's a great building, great crowd. I mean, the team's been competitive for so many years. But in terms of the downtown now, I mean, it's changing, but it's not like a New York or a Nashville or a Vegas. Like, it's nothing like that. But I still love going there. Weather typically is pretty good. But yeah, Vegas is up there. Nashville for sure. And then even I throw Montreal in there, where like we're there quite often because it's close. I lived there for a couple of years. Great place to visit, but you know, again, it's being able to be in that building, especially on a Saturday night. Like, it's just, for any Canadian sports fan, like that's got to be right up there on the bucket list of things you want to get to experience before it's all said and done. So those are the ones that you know get real exciting for me.
I was excited today. I found out that I've one upped Kyle. He's never experienced mullet magic at Mullet Arena, and I've done it a couple of times. Have you done it, Claire?
Yeah, but I went it was funny. I went last year over All-Star Week. Like, the Senators were off a little longer, and so I watched them play the Wild, and I loved it. But I went as a fan.
Yeah, it's a great, you know what? And I understand they can't stay there forever because of the economics, but boy, it's a college-like atmosphere. It's really cool. I thought it was really neat. I thought it was pretty cool to be on a campus of a college and you're watching an NHL game. But I'm with Claire 100%. Give me Midtown New York, give me Manhattan, give me that as like my one place where I could cover the NHL. That would be my choice.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've never been to MSG, but I'll take Long Island. That's my New York experience. I've been to their new barn. But as best as I can segue, I'm gonna go to the Senators. Obviously, all three of you know them very well. But obviously they have a new ownership. Andlauer coming to the fold. I know, Claire, you did a really great feature on him. Ian, I know you know him a bit well as well. Just for all three of you, what are your first impressions of Andlauer and the new ownership group in his first 6 months?
I need to go last year. I feel like I'm always jumping in and saying things. So I'm going third.
Kyle hasn't gone first yet. Go, Kyle.
There we go.
Well, I was gonna say I've spent the least amount of time around the team this year than any of us here in this chat. So I don't know if I wanted to go first, but I mean, just a real professional. I mean, clearly there's a focus and a drive there to get to where he wants things to be. Like, there's a reason why he's been so successful in business, beyond just sports, and getting to a point where he's in a position to own a National Hockey League franchise. So there certainly is a drive there, and you know, I enjoy the passion. And it's funny, like after the Ottawa Toronto game here a couple of weeks ago with the Ridley Gregg empty netter and all hell breaking loose, there was, I won't say the players, just because I was 99% sure I knew what the conversation was, but I wasn't totally sure. So one player sought Andlauer out in the hallway. He was down out in front of by the dressing room afterwards, and I'm pretty sure the conversation was around like, okay, how can we you know, eliminate the amount of blue and white sweaters that come into the building for those games. Now, I mean, it's kind of a fruitless conversation to have, because you're ultimately, you know, unless Sens fans all just decide they're going to keep their tickets, there's always going to be that component. But like, he was, you know, engaged in the conversation, like going, we've got to find a solution here. Like, there's just there's such a passion to want to to have a team that succeeds. You know, he did it in Hamilton. You know, he was part of the group there in Montreal that continued to grow their franchise value. They had the couple of playoff runs over his time, and the one in the bubble or shortened season in 2021 there too. But I think in my time it's just been not a lot of interactions with him, but just very, very astute. But I think there is a fire burning there inside to make this team competitive sooner than later, for sure.
And I would agree with a lot of what Kyle said. I think he's got obviously tremendous entrepreneurial acumen. And, you know, like further to the story that I did with him in Montreal, he's kind of comes from this underdog background, but I think he really brings that into his professionalism. And like, he clearly has a major passion for hockey. And then I think in taking on the Senators as the owner, he's like, this is an underdog team and he wants to elevate the team and do what he can to win. And I think he's just like, wants to be like, screw you to the big markets like Montreal and Toronto and do what he can to elevate the Senators. And I think similar to what he said at the first time when he was officially announced as the owner, you know, it's kind of like a marriage. He's excited, he's nervous. I think he's taking things at a really good pace. You know, he could have come in and totally changed management and coaching immediately, but he wanted to evaluate things and get a feel for how they were. And then he makes changes as he sees fit. So I think, yeah, I'm interested to see some of the alterations he makes in the future, especially with his coaching role. And I know that's not always him, that's Steve Staios as well. But yeah, I'm very interested to see his direction with the club. But it's only been 5 months, so we've got a small sample size.
Yeah, I would say like he is the most normal, down-to-earth NHL owner I've dealt with. And now, granted, I've probably only dealt with, you know, 8 or 10 or whatever over the years, but I feel like it's a decent amount of billionaires that I've dealt with. And he's the most normal one. He's the most down-to-earth, regular guy. He pays attention to the media coverage. He's not, he's okay with criticism. And I've had these conversations with him. I said, look, and in fact, as soon as he, like during, I don't know where Kyle and Claire were on this, but like during the entire sale process, like I didn't bother him. I didn't bother like that wasn't, I just stayed out of that part of it. I didn't feel like that was something I wanted to do. But the day he got the team in June, I sent him a note. I you know, traced down his contact info. And I sent him a note and he wrote me back. I tell you within 90 seconds. And he wrote me back. And this is on an email. He wrote me back in 90 seconds. And he's like, hey, Ian, thanks for the note. Really looking forward to getting to know you, whatever. And, you know, from that point on, we've had a really good professional relationship. And the one thing I've told him, and I told him this, so I was in Montreal with him the day Claire did the sit down. I got some time with him and I sat down, and as I was sitting down with him, and I said, I'm so happy you're doing this with Claire. I said, and I'm happy you're having this conversation with me because this is what you need to do. You need to be talking to Kyle and Claire and Wayne Scanlon and Bruce Garriock and TSN 1200 and I think that's really important. I don't think you want to get into a situation where you're only speaking to one entity or a Toronto radio station like we had seen in the past. And he gets that. He's not from here, but he gets it. And the fact that he's bought a place here and he wants to live here, he was super irritated that he couldn't skate on the canal this year. Like he wants to be part of our city. He wants to be part of our community. So I really enjoy, like, he seems like, sometimes I almost feel like he's too regular. Like, I'm like, okay, hang on here. Like, how did you accumulate this much wealth? Like, I feel like we're all normal people. How come we don't have $2 billion? Because I always think to accumulate that type of wealth, I do think that there has to be a level of, like, you got to have a killer instinct usually to acquire that type of wealth. Like, you have to have, he must have it in the boardroom, but he sure as heck doesn't seem to have it when he's just kind of shooting the breeze with us.
Ian, is he more real than Snoop Dogg? Just, I know you would know.
Oh, that you want to talk about, you know, like Claire's moment of your pinch me moment for an interview. Like when Claire said she interviewed Christine Sinclair, that's mine for sure. Snoop Dogg. Like, I still have the whole thing recorded on my laptop. It's saved as snoop.mp4. Like, it's the greatest. Like, is the most surreal interview I've ever done. Still to this day.
How much?
That'll be like like they're going through all the archives of like prints and stuff that was unreleased since after he passed, right? That'll be somewhere down the line. I'll be like, oh, we've got to find the Ian Mendes interview with Snoop Dogg. It'll be unearthed and this grand release.
Wait, can I swear on this podcast? Because it's not really my brand, but I want to tell a story here real quick of like, again, this is not me swearing. This is Snoop swearing. Okay. So I'm asking him about hockey or whatever, and he's like he's going off about how he used to be an LA Kings fan, like way back. He's like, and this is Snoop. This isn't me. This is Snoop. And he's like, I was an LA Kings fan when they were wearing purple and gold. I watched motherfucking Marcel Dion. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard Marcel Dion's name be kind of, prefaced by that. And I was like, this guy's real. Like, he's legit. Who says MF Marcel Dion? Like he did. Like it was awesome. Like it was just like this surreal, I can't believe, like, and by the way, real quick, they told me like his handler was like, hey, he will call you within the next 24 hours. So can you imagine the angst you have as a reporter? Like, how quick your shower would be, how quick you're bringing your phone with you everywhere, looking down to see, like, is S Dog coming up on the caller ID?
Wait, what did it come? Sometimes
it came up as Snoop D. No,
actually,
no. It
was it
come up. It was a block number, private number. Yeah.
Oh, so you can't even follow up. You can't text him.
As soon as the call's done, it's shoot him a note back. Yeah, thanks, Snoop. No. It's over.
Oh man,
it was a one and done.
How much did you try to, with your editors, talk about Mr. Dog said or Snoop said?
Well, at that, so yeah, exactly. And we were, the New York Times had taken over us at that point, and their grammatical rules would be like said Mr. Dog, right? Like said Mr. Dog. Yeah, I was watching
like
the LA Kings.
Book.
I was watching the LA Kings since motherfucking Marcel Dion, said Mr. Dog. No, so I don't know. Like, I don't know how we ended. I think we ended up just going with Snoop in the end. Like, says Snoop. Snoop said, which still seems hilarious.
So this is so comical.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here. I guess to Steve Staios and Dave Poulin. I know, just for you, like knowing Dave, how cool is it just to see someone that you work with now being part of the front office? Is that kind of weird?
Well, yeah, it was so weird because I felt like I'd been working with him a week and a half prior, and I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on, this isn't my teammate anymore, and this is somebody that you kind of almost wonder how you switch. Sorry, we're always professional, but okay, does that relationship change? How does it alter? Do I reference him as Pooley in interviews? Like, that's a joke. I wouldn't do that. But I'm also, you're really happy for him too, because he was an amazing teammate and always had an open line. So for example, if I wanted to talk to him, because obviously he had general manager experience as a TSN analyst, but if I had questions about the cap space or how a trade might work from a logistics perspective, I knew I could call him and he would always give me the time of day because he wanted to help a teammate out. So he was just a really great person to work with. And I figured that would probably extend to him with the Senators too. Like he'd still be easy to work with and I could probably reach out to him about things. Now it's, it's a bit different now, but yeah, it's great to see good people land in good places.
Ian, Kyle?
I thought I never worked with him, but I knew him a little bit when he was still part of Toronto's management. But I thought, once he got into the broadcast side and whether he was in studio or in the broadcast booth at the rink, we were just marveled. Just thought, like, this is like an incredible teacher here. I just thought that the tone of his voice, how he articulated things, it was so digestible and easy to understand. So I saw the news that the Senators had hired him. I just thought, yeah, like, wow, they're getting a great teacher who has been around the game, around the sport in so many different avenues and roles and positions for so long. Yeah, what a great asset to have in any organization, let alone a National Hockey League franchise.
Yeah, and I think on Steve on Staios, like I think there's a level of professionalism and like a polished nature to him in his any interview that he does. Everything like he does is very calculated, deliberate, meticulous, and I think that's exactly what they need. And I really like working with him. I've gotten a chance to kind of very on the outside get to know him a little bit. I'm still working really hard, just as I'm sure everyone else in this call is working hard to try to create and again, I always say I'm not trying to be friends with anybody. I don't create friendships. I want to create relationships with these guys. And I want to create a relationship with him where if he doesn't, and I think we have it, but like if he doesn't like something I write, I want him to reach out to me and light me up and we can have a conversation and have a back and forth. And I do feel like he's accountable, and I think that's great. I think Dave Poole, Claire talked about it. Like he's one of those guys. I worked at TSN on the radio side and had Poole on all the time as a guest. He is the epitome of professionalism and class and all the things, all the attributes you want in senior management. So I think these two guys are perfect to sort of be the face of the hockey operations department.
Best in class. I want to just like go off that a little bit. Like, I think it's going to be so fascinating just to see what the Senators do, specifically Staios and Poulin. Like, what do you expect the Senators to do? Any of you at the deadline? Any big splashes? Does the Josh Norris injury change anything? Just, what do you think will happen there?
When's this going to air?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Big trade. So one of you guys break it.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing to break, but I don't think. I mean, I think beyond Tarasenko, like I'm not sure there's going to be anything of great magnitude to go on between now and the deadline. That's just my sense. Like of any big restructuring. I feels more in the summer, maybe around the draft or even beyond then, where teams are in a different situation cap wise. We're all expecting it to go up by a considerable amount next year, and then it's just more of an easier conversation to have to make a deal happen. So yeah, but over the next week and a little bit here, that's kind of the one that I'm looking at. But even like the chicken run guys, if that is to happen and they decide to move on there, I feel it could be, you have to get really, really creative with a dance partner there in order to make that one fit. And I'm just, in terms of teams that could use him right now, I'm not sure how many have the room to make a deal happen. But anyway, that's my feel.
Ian, Claire?
I'm like always apprehensive on weighing in on this kind of thing, but yeah, I think the Tarasenko one is the very obvious one, but I wouldn't be super shocked if there was maybe somebody else shopped around. I don't know, maybe it doesn't happen, but just to see what kind of return they can get. And I don't want to throw names out because I feel like that could kind of blow up, but just it wouldn't shock me if there was, okay, like there's a couple untouchables, but maybe that next layer of player, if they can get a lot in return, I wouldn't be shocked.
Do you think like
sorry, Alex is going to title this headline podcast, Claire Hanna, Sens wouldn't be shocked if Batherson or Shabbat is moved. It's like, what? I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
The aggregators.
No, but you know what?
You just did.
I 100% agree with Claire's assessment. I think there's three untouchables on this roster. To me, it's Brady Tkachuk, it's Timmy Stützle, and it's Jake Sanderson. And I think after that, you don't get to miss the playoffs 7 years in a row and everybody gets a free pass. Doesn't work that way. So you have lost as a group collectively. This is not on any individual, but collectively, you have lost the right to run it back in September. You just have. So at some point you need, and there's only certain points in the calendar where the NHL ecosphere is kind of like open to trades. And this is one of them. And then the next one is at the draft. And that's about it. Like in terms of the times when the like general managers are super eager, there's only a couple of pressure points. And so I'm with Kyle. Like I don't know that this is the time to move anybody with significant term or contract on their deal. But I also agree with Claire. If you're Staios and you're Ryan Bonus and you're Dave Poulin, why wouldn't you talk to other teams about some of these guys, see what their value is, see what other people are thinking about them, and then make those decisions maybe down the road. But yeah, there shouldn't be like 8 untouchable guys on a team that is careening towards missing the postseason in 7 straight years. That's nonsense.
Yeah, totally.
It's amazing that this is going to be the franchise record. Like considering how it started here in '92, that they didn't go this long. That's my Roman Empire some days.
I think back to I've been thinking so much about the Oilers in that decade of darkness and how many first round picks they had.
Yes.
You know, whether it was
First overall picks
or Taylor Hall, and you know how many were shipped out because there was no success. And I'm like, at what point is that going to have to be the same story for the Senators?
Totally.
Yeah.
And talking about the 90s, Jacques Martin took charge, and then they started making the playoffs. And obviously, he's probably not going to be the coach next year. I think he basically came out and said it yesterday. But what do you think the next coach of the Ottawa Senators going into next year needs to kind of provide to this team? Is it maybe more of a hard ass? Is it maybe a more veteran coach? Like, what do you think this team needs in terms of a coach?
I like the idea that I opened up the door to casual swearing now
there
on
you
this
go.
podcast.
No kidding.
I think that this organization for years, the perception has been they've gone on the cheap for head coaches, that they've never gotten an established. So think back to way back, like Corey Clouston and Dave Cameron, and even to some extent Guy Boucher, but certainly DJ Smith. People are like, you're just going on the cheap. If they go that route this time, and the obvious name here would be John Gruden, and maybe John Gruden is the best candidate, they are going to have to do a sell job in this market to a very skeptical fan base who's going to say, I'm not sure that that's the right guy when Craig Berube is out there. So I think if you get a Stanley Cup winning coach like a Craig Berube, I think he comes with a lot of the built-in elements that you need. He's a bit gruff. He's accountable. He is a bit of a player's coach too, but he kind of can
he grinds.
But he can do it both ways. Brady would really know him from the St. Louis connection. So there's some things that you wouldn't have to sell Craig Berube internally and externally. If you go the John Gruden route, you're going to have to do a sell job. And I'm not saying that he's not the right coach. I'm just saying you have to sell it to this fan base and tell us why he's the right guy.
And with that, the expectations next year have to be playoffs, right? It can't be another retool. Or am I wrong? Are they?
No, I don't think you can't go backwards. I don't think. Like it's already been the longest drought in franchise history. So whatever is done, how major the surgery is over the offseason, presumably if there is change, that's when the majority of it happens. It's got to be with an eye on being a playoff team next year, because you've got good guts here. There's no question. Like you've got a good foundation built. But perhaps you got to switch. Maybe you thought the master bedroom was going to be on the second floor. Maybe it's better on the main floor here, just kind of around by the stairs. Like there's still some. You got to rework the blueprint, I think, is from when you initially set out to build the thing.
Do you think
get a better ensuite?
That's right.
Well, I also think like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting the same result. And so there's clearly something not working. Is it the coaching? Was that it? Or is it something deeper than that? And maybe you do have to do a bit of a bigger rework. Like maybe you're building like a infill house in the backyard for the master bedroom. I'm not like just going off of this analogy. But I just think that there's something clearly missing, because if you're going 7 years without making the playoffs, that's a big lag. And how could you expect the playoffs next year if you don't make big changes? That's ridiculous. So I don't know. It's just, to me, something has to change. And maybe it's almost like a mini rebuild again. And I hate to say that, but if this isn't working and you've already had some of these players who everybody thought took the next step, like within the last year or two, well, they haven't taken a step, then what do you need to add? Maybe you need to get rid of some young talent, for some mid veterans who bring this experience of like maybe playing in Stanley Cup finals or winning world championships or something like that.
I want to expand a little bit on I want Kyle to walk me through some of the pros and cons of moving your master bedroom to the main level. Like what would be the benefit? You have a master bedroom on the second level, you bring it to the main level. Why?
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. I grew up, the house I grew up in, our kitchen was on the second level. And I understand now that's kind of a unique layout. But when growing up, that's all I knew. So that was always very normal to me, to like walk in the house and go upstairs to where the kitchen is. I understand.
I am mind blown right now, Kyle. What the heck?
European
You went upstairs to your kitchen? Like, I cannot even conceptualize this. I'm what?
Yeah, that's how it was. That's how our house. It still is. Like my parents still live in the same house. It works more than fine.
Were you on the river?
Again, we weren't. No. About just up the hill. But that was the way it was done. I don't know. Was it more commonplace? And it was built in the late '80s. Yeah, my dad, kind of quarterbacked the project for it. I don't know. Maybe that was just the cheaper way to go about it then. I have no idea.
Were all the bedrooms on the main floor?
So the ones that we used were all up on the second floor. Like they were like what's now become spare room and storage rooms were on the kind of the main level, like ground level. We had the built-in garage that took up space too. Just a lot of storage rooms were kind of on the main level. And then like you go upstairs to like where you kind of lived and did most of your hanging out in. But anyway, I'm glad this is the direction.
On the main floor.
No, it wasn't. It was on the second floor. So yeah, why would the master be on the main floor? Good question, Ian. I don't know, but like, you got to try something, right? It's been 7 years, and you're like, I don't like my house.
Kyle's deflecting. He doesn't want to talk about his childhood home anymore.
Yeah,
No, I love where I grew up. Are you kidding me? It's like my favorite place to go visit. I just love that this is the direction we've gone.
I'm going to need you, Kyle, at some point, next time you're at home, wherever, just take a quick video of like kind of walking into your house so we can, in our mind, like we can visualize this and send it into this group chat.
It's one of those architecture digests, like welcome to the Bukauskas home. And here's everything. Here's the master bedroom. Right. Yeah. Cribs. Cribs, MTV Cribs.
Anyway. I got no other way to explain it than that was all I knew. That was normal.
And I guess for the Senators, all they've known is not the greatest goaltending. I guess I want to go to that as best as I can. What do you think they need to do in net, Ian, maybe going forward?
Boy, I don't think you can run it again, to use that phrase, running it back. I don't know you can come back with these two guys. You're getting sub 900 save percentages on a fairly consistent basis here, and that's a problem. And part of it is on the guys in front of them for sure, but you wonder what this team would look like with league average save percentage. The Korpisalo deal, I wrote the day that they signed him. I wrote, here are the dangers of signing goalies to a 5-year deal when they switch teams. And the obvious red flag that I try to point out is the Jack Campbell. Like, you got to be careful. Like, there's a lot of pressure that comes on these athletes. They're moving to a new market. It's Canadian. Things can start to kind of, snowball in a hurry. And I think that's what's happened to Korpisalo here, is that he's just never felt comfortable enough. Now, come back next year under a new coach, maybe, but like, there's no more 10 or 15 game trial run for this team. That's been the problem in October and November. You don't get that bit of runway. So I would look to do something creative. It's probably going to require you eating some salary somewhere, taking a hit somewhere else, but you can't come back. And like Claire said, about the definition of insanity, I don't know that you can just run back with the same goalies and expect them to suddenly provide you with a 9-10 save percentage.
From that, like, obviously, the Sens haven't made the playoffs for 7 straight years, and now there's a new team in town with PWHL Ottawa. And I know Kyle and Ian, you're season ticket members and or holders, and Claire, you covered the game last night. Just how cool has it been to see the success of the team in Ottawa? And does it almost validate that a downtown arena would really do wonders to the Senators if they got that one day?
Well, first of all, I think the team's looking for more success because they only have 4 wins in their season. But I know you're referencing just the crowd support and just how many fans are really embracing the team, and that is amazing. And every time I go to the game, I see so many young girls and boys with signs, that say things like, if you see it, you can be it, or just like girl power, all that stuff. It's just amazing to me as a former female athlete to see that they're inspiring this generation, and that these young girls now have something that if they're playing hockey, they know that there is going to be a place for them to possibly play. And maybe it's going to be even bigger and better when they get there. But yeah, I mean, and I also cover the Red Blacks that play also at Lansdowne, and I see how many fans go to support that team, and they have had a dismal record these past 3 seasons. So that to me enforces just how many fans would likely support another team in that downtown core, especially if it was the Senators. So I've always been a fan of seeing arenas move downtown. I lived in Edmonton when they moved from Rexall to Rogers, and I saw how that revitalized the downtown. I was in Winnipeg. It's so funny. I feel like I've lived in all these cities when a team's come downtown. But yeah, I was in Winnipeg when the Jets came back, and holy crap, the amount of restaurants that popped up and the nightlife that increased in downtown Winnipeg, like that was really cool. So I've witnessed it firsthand, and I think it's just great for a city, and it increases the metropolitan vibe.
Ian, when you go to watch a game there as a fan, what do you do for parking, or do you take the bus in?
For PWHL?
Yes.
So I have parked just kind of in the glebe. Like there's a couple of side streets where after 7 p.m. there's not the 1 hour or 2 hour limit. So usually if I've worked a game as a media member, I'll park in the media parking, and I just don't like doing that when I'm not working a game. I feel like that. I don't know what. So
You're a good dude.
Yeah. So but a stupid dude. Like I should also probably just park there too. But I usually just park in the glebe. But I'm going to the game Saturday and picking up my daughter who's going to Carleton, lives on Sunnyside, but I can't park on Sunnyside. So I don't know. I'll probably just park somewhere in the glebe and do the walk.
Yeah, well, I do the same thing, and I just think like, man, I haven't been to a Red Blacks game in a couple of years here now. I went to what is it? Ottawa FC?
Yeah.
Atletico Ottawa. But did want to go those games last summer. But I just think even so we're north of 6,000 at the game last night, and like still like how creative you had to be just to find parking around there. That's the only thing I hope whenever they decide if they get a building closer to downtown or in downtown, what that all is going to look like, because we can't count on transit in the city, clearly. I just worry about the logistical nightmare that can come. Like I'm all for being down there and in the heart of what's going on. But for those that are making the drive in that all live in the West End or East End over on the Gatineau side that have to drive to watch their team play, man, it's as I said, it's striking each time we go, or even for just over 6,000 people going to the game, how tough and creative, as I say, you have to be around parking just for going to the game there.
I guess the only thing I would add to this is someone that covers both teams. I really think the hockey gods do not like Ottawa sports hockey teams. I think that's my conclusion, and hopefully they can make the playoffs this year.
Hey, that PWHL team is like a couple points behind. Okay.
Yeah, there's still time. They
the
have
3-point system is great. Like for getting back in the race.
Yeah.
I love
right now. Top 4 make playoffs.
They're right there.
Right.
Yeah.
I love their style. Like I just see, like the way seems like everything's up and fast pace. Just they got how many posts and just near misses they have early on in games to like get an early lead. Anyway, but they're a lot of fun to watch.
Kyle,
yes.
One of the PWHL NY players, Abby Rock, got kicked out last night. 5 minutes for hitting the boards. Like it was the biggest or the first major in PWHL history. And I'm laughing, but it's just wild.
But that was a really reckless hit. Given the proximity to the boards, that's Yeah,
It was
that was
dangerous.
absolutely justified, right? Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure,
awful.
without a doubt. But I
Yeah.
feel like people always criticize the women's game for the lack of physicality, and you're seeing.
Oh,
But let's not
yeah.
count that one because that was dangerous. But it's a really the all the women say they love the level at right now, like that where it's being played.
It's so interesting because just talking to them, a lot of like the younger players are like getting used to it and they've never played with any body contact at all. And I think it's going to be really fascinating to see going forward how like the league maybe even gets more physical in a way because the players really kind of get more used to it. But that's going to be interesting, maybe in minor hockey, maybe, you know, how that changes for women's sport as well.
Yeah.
It is,
You know,
sorry.
what,
Go ahead, Ian.
real quick, what I like about it is that anytime I've watched women's hockey and there's a degree of physicality, it's for the intense, like sole purpose of removing a person from the puck. It's not to hurt, like the Abby Rock thing notwithstanding. It's for the sole purpose of removing the puck carrier from the puck, and that's the way it should be. And it's unfortunately in the NHL, it's not that way all the time, right? There's a different level of physicality, but I've loved the level of physicality that I've seen out of the PWHL in the first couple of months.
And so I go, like my wife and I go, we've got tickets. And the one thing she said, and she wasn't saying this like as a backhanded compliment or anyway. She just, the first game, she's sitting there going, she said like the pace is, you know, a little bit slower than watching NHL games. So she's going, I feel I can follow along a lot easier and kind of read the flow of the game because she's not someone who's like locked in and going, okay, what's the matchup? Who's coming on the ice next? She's a casual hockey fan, and there are tons of casual hockey fans across our country. And I thought that was just really interesting point where, you know, if you just, you're not watching with the same eye as someone who is so dialed into it, you just watch it to be entertained. She said, you know, just the speed that it is, it's still quick and entertaining, but moves at a pace that she's going, oh, I actually know what's going on, and I can follow it much easier.
What's also awesome is just that it's like 60-70% women, and it's just so cool to see the women's game and just so many young girls, but also just women of all ages at the games. And it's so different from the NHL, of course, unfortunately. So just to have that dynamic, I really feel like the game of hockey will just grow because they're finally being sold to all genders. So that's, I just find that so cool at all the games, just seeing all the women and young girls just, you know, outdoing the men, honestly. So yeah.
And I don't even, sorry, go ahead, Claire.
I was going to say the league's really progressive from a rule standpoint too. They're like, let's take some interesting risks with the jailbreak rule. I love that. And then yesterday when they just announced that the top team in the after the regular season gets to choose whether they want to play third or fourth place team, like these are things that I think are really creative, and they're trying to separate themselves from other leagues. And I just love that. Why not take risks? Why not be really interesting? And I think it is just kind of only attracting eyeballs.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. Before I let this you know, podcast end and going from, you know, talking about basements and master bedrooms, I feel like I just need to go
We've covered
to
everything today.
Yeah, we really have done everything. So for people that don't know, Kyle, Ian, and others around kind of the Sens media have done trivia a long time at intermissions. Right. Claire, unfortunately, typically is doing the broadcast during those games, but that's why she doesn't join us, but she's always more than welcome to. So we're gonna do a little bit of Sens trivia, and
oh boy,
since 2021. 22 season till now. That's kind of the parameters of
the Claire Hanna era, as we call it.
I know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Okay.
Exactly. So it's just so I think I have 4 questions and then I have a tiebreaker. So we're just going to go around. Each person has, you know, their guess, and then kind of just throw it out there. And if no one gets it right, we can just kind of go from there, and it's fair game to anyone to throw out answers. So the first question is, since 2021-22, just cumulatively, who has the most game-winning goals for the Ottawa Senators?
I go Tim Stewart.
Okay.
I'll say the captain.
Okay. Ian?
I'm going to go a little bit off the board here because he's in the news cycle right now. Give me Josh Norris.
Ian, how do you do this? It's Josh Norris with 11 goals.
Seriously?
Yes. He
He's
has
missed
the
Well,
all
most.
you know
that
what
time with
though?
injury.
I probably would have
Wow.
taken one of those two guys, but they took them first. So I
Damn.
just went to the next guy who I thought is a goal scorer.
Oh wait,
So-
and hold on, because I guessed first. Now I don't get to guess first next time, hey?
yeah, you go
Oh,
last.
I screwed myself with the wrong answer. Okay.
Uh, so Ian, you go first. So this question, the next one is, which goalie has the best goals against average cumulatively again since the 21-22 season with a minimum of 5 games?
That 5 games is a shady.
It's to take
This
out
feels
Dylan
real
Ferguson.
Dylan Ferguson.
I'm not
Ferguson-y.
doing that. That's not fair. Someone that
I'm just
plays.
I'm just gonna throw out Joey Decord, but I don't even feel like that's right. But I'll say Joey Decord.
Wait, we're talking the Senators?
Yes. All
Five
Senators
games.
questions.
I will. I know Ian's is not right. I'll go Philip Gustafson.
Okay. And
Well,
Claire?
that's a good guess.
I was wondering about Gus the Bus. And I feel like this could be such a trick question.
Oh
And
my
like
God.
the answer is
Sorry.
Matt Murray, but I don't want to say Matt Murray. I'm gonna go Forsberg.
You know what's crazy? I just thought I feel like Craig Anderson might be the sneaky answer here.
No,
Or is
no.
Anderson?
No,
He didn't
he's
play.
Josh.
He
Oh,
didn't
no,
play.
he's 21, 22.
21,
Yeah.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wasn't on
So
the team.
Decord didn't even play.
I know, Ian.
I know.
That's why I said I knew
I
your
wasn't-
answer was wrong.
Oh, jeez. I just
You can
squandered
have
it.
another answer if you want.
No, it's
I know it's
over
too
now.
late.
He lost that one.
I lost.
So the great thing is none of you guys got it right. So now it's
Is it Matt Sogard?
no.
Oh man,
It's
none of us got it right.
None of you got it
Cameron
right.
Mandalise.
No.
No, he's had
Wow.
he hasn't had 5 starts. Who is it?
21-20 Cam Talbot.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
293
wow.
goals against average. I can't.
That's not a win for me. That's a loss for all of us.
That's a loss for
that
everyone.
didn't feel right. It
a
started
good
when I said
question, though.
Joey Decord.
And on-
It only got worse from there.
And on the goalie theme, and it could have been really off the board, but which goalie has the best save percentage for the Senators since 21-22? That's the third question.
Is it the same minimum 5 games?
Yeah. Yep.
Who goes first this time?
I think it's Kyle. Yep.
I'll say, oh God. I'll say Talbot as well.
Okay.
I'll say he's got both.
Claire, I think it's Claire.
I'm going back to. I'm just trying to look at his body of work, and I feel like Forsberg might be the guy.
Yeah, that's what my guess would have been. Forsbergler.
Forsbergler. So is that both of you two have Forsbergler?
We can repeat.
Team up. We can team up.
If you have the same answer, yes.
Okay.
Claire is like, I didn't agree to this at all.
I know. I'm like, he's fleecing me. Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I would have said Forsberg, so I don't even know who else would be even sniffing a
what's the
900.
It is Anton Forsberg. You got it right. You both got it right.
Oh, good.
There you go. There you go. And then the last one I think is going to be interesting. It's kind of a bit off the board, but who is the best plus minus on the Senators since 21-22 season? And it's 2 players are tied.
Okay.
Actually at it. So
I'm going off the board, off the hop. Give me the Riddler, Ridley Gregg.
okay. You can have 2. You can have 2 guesses if you'd like.
Well, I'm gonna say I know it's not Drake Batherson. Let's go with Claude Giroux.
Okay.
So Giroux is in my head. Yeah, that was in my mind. But there's 2 names though.
There's 2 names. So we'll do it again. But
Can we get 2 guesses?
yes,
each
you
then?
have 2 guesses. You have 2 guesses.
And
So
then let's go reverse order. Snake it.
Yeah.
Snake it.
Snake it. Okay. Shoot. Giroux.
we have 2 Giroux and a Greg.
Yeah. Oh man. I think who else? 21, 22.
I'll give it. You want a hint?
No.
Oh, whoa. What's
No.
going
No
on here?
hints.
This guy's getting
No.
2 guesses here in the snake. He doesn't need a hint.
Guess something like Tyler Ennis.
Yeah. Was he? No, he was gone by then, right?
No,
No.
he was
Yeah.
there for a bit.
He played
He
22.
was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
22.
remember because it's
Oh,
my
but he
era.
came back.
He came back, I think 22, right? 21, 22. Pretty
Jeez.
sure. I'll Google this.
He was
quick.
there in 1920, and then didn't they trade him to Edmonton?
Edmonton at the deadline.
Yeah.
I thought he came back. I'm Googling
And-
this.
He did.
Yes,
come
yeah,
back,
because the
right?
video, right? The video of Drake, Tyler Ennis, one of the best ever
Yeah.
to lace him up.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah,
best.
that
Yeah.
was during then. Like, do I pick? Is there a
Played in
defenseman,
21.
perhaps? I'm not sure that there is. Give me like. I know he wouldn't have been there for that long. Give me like Nick Paul.
Nick Paul. Okay. By the
Yeah.
way, Tyler Ennis was a career minus 84. That's
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, so my guesses are Claude Giroux, and I'm gonna go with Brady.
Brady Tkachuk. Okay. Then Ian.
I'm torn because there's a couple guys that I think like I feel pretty strongly in Ridley Gregg because and I only say that because remember when Jacques Martin, there was a press conference right after the Ridley slapper goal,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked him about putting him in that spot, protecting 1 goal lead, and Jacques said the kid is a plus 15 or whatever he said, and I'm like, man. So as soon as you
Whoa.
ask this question, I'm like, I don't know that there's many guys that would be plus 15. So I'm like, I'm going Ridley Gregg. Zub is another guy. Tarasenko is another guy, but I don't think Tarasenko's that high.
I know I thought about Tarasenko too, but I don't think he's there.
Matty Joseph's had a good year too. I'm debating between. You know what? Based on Claire's face, I'm going Matty Joseph Ridley Gregg because I was gonna go Zub until Claire made the.
I was
that's
torn
an
on that one too.
That was an impressive face. So I'm going with those 2 guys.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
But I'm only sure of Ridley. I'm only 100% sure of Ridley.
Unfortunately, Ian Mendes has really got very good at this game, and he got Ridley Gregg and Matthew Joseph correct. So he wins
Oh my
the
God.
trivia.
No,
and
but that's Jacques
Are you-
Martin. That's the assist to Jacques Martin. I was so sure on Ridley Gregg.
Wow.
Well
So sure
done.
on him.
Years.
Now, hold on. So now on the topic of plus minus, does Alex and Claire, do you know the Ian Mendes Tom Pricing story?
No, I do not.
Yes.
You've got to share that one. That's one of my favorite television pieces that
Me as a young
I think
Cub
you ever came up
TV
with.
reporter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in 2006, 2007, Ottawa had a defenseman, Tom Pricing, who they got in. Did he come over in the Martin Havlat trade? Whatever. He came over. He was like a spare part. He was like a 6th defenseman. Okay. But he was like leading the league in plus minus at the All-Star game. So I work for Sportsnet and I pitched him on this idea. I said, you're a plus 35. I said, but I was like, nobody knows who you are. What if I took you to the Rideau Center with a camera? We stopped random people to ask if they know who you are. And for every person who knows, you get a plus, and every person who you get a minus. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. And so we took him to the Rideau Center, me and my cameraman, and we just pulled random people. Do you know who this guy is? No. He plays for the Ottawa Senators? No idea. He even he really played into it. He brought his helmet. He put it on. He was like showing off. I think he ended up a minus 15. And
Oh my God.
he loved it. He loved it. Yeah.
What a
That's
song.
so creative.
Really creative storytelling strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were back in the early 2000s.
The early
That you had your-
2000s.
Yeah. Now all the good ideas are gone. That was one of the good ideas back in the day. Now it
I
feels
know.
like it's a real struggle.
Ian, I grew up watching you, on Sportsnet like every
Okay.
day on
Yeah, this is
Sports-
where we end the conversation, Alex, because you're like, yeah, man, that I hate and this is going to come for Claire and Kyle at some point. You will never feel older than when somebody comes up to you and says, I watched you growing up, or I watched you in elementary school, and you're looking
Oh.
at them and you're like, you're a 30-year-old grown ass adult now. Don't tell me you grew up watching me, because that hurts. That
It
hurts.
was a compliment, Ian. It was
Yeah.
a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your years of mastery. There you go. Before is there just like normally on these podcasts I kind of let people plug where they are and what they're doing, but you guys are all at different institutions. Is there anything any of you guys just want to kind of, I don't even plug, or just any stories you have all together that you maybe want to share as well along the Tom pricing era plus minus?
I have no stories.
No stories.
I have nothing going on.
Nothing going on. Okay.
Nothing. No.
Well,
Well, no, I just can't think of any.
Yeah.
It was too. That's a very broad question. I was thinking of like plugging the Dovercourt Rec Center, which is great, like as a place to get a workout in. But that's so weird.
who's who's the best who's the most competitive pickleball player out of the three of you?
Claire.
Yeah, I've gone into fights. It's been very embarrassing and awkward.
And is
Got in a fight?
Okay, well, I'll just quickly go over this because this has been talked about, but I just want to put it up there on the record. But
Yeah.
okay, so I think when you're playing pickleball, there's 4 people. Well, it's the 4 of you that should determine, or the person closest to the ball and the line that should determine if it's in or out. Well, I was playing this summer in a league, and a bystander was like we were having a discussion on the court whether the ball was in or out. And a bystander was like, "Oh, that was out." And I'm like, "No, get out of here. You're not involved in the game. I don't like that." Anyway, so then we decided, okay, it's on the court if it's in or out. And then there was a ball, and I'm playing at the back of the line, and the ball is out, and I called it out. Well, this guy I was playing against is like, "No, it's in." And I'm like, "You're literally 30 feet away. How are you supposed to tell if it's in or out? I'm right beside the line. It's out." And he was like, "Well, I don't know, blah, blah, let's replay it." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, we'll replay it." And anyways, but what he didn't realize is that pissed me off so much that I elevated my game, because I'm like, I'm going to shove this game like down your throat and show you that we are going to dominate you. And we won. But I'm like, don't even give me, what do you call it? Billboard, or what's
Poke the bear.
material. And I'm like,
Poke the
yeah,
bear.
and there's so many other plays that I could be like, "Oh, let's replay that ball." And he's like, "Well, I know." I'm like, "Stop it." Anyways, you guys have got me going now.
Oh, I made the mistake of, I may have sent Claire and this other person a text like a week or 2 after the incident, trying to make a joke of it. And Claire was like, "That ain't funny. And here's why." So
There's so many other layers to this story too, because I felt like then people were like, "Claire, calm down. And I'm like, you would not be saying that if I was a dude in this position. Like, I don't know. It just got me so mad on so many levels. But I hated the bystander because I'm like, get out of this game. I'm not commenting on your game. This has nothing to do with you.
All I'm thinking about is, go Kyle.
I was just say that's the ultimate non-calming down tool, to be like, tells someone calm down when they're fired up.
Yeah.
Like,
when has that ever worked?
Yeah. That's a terrible strategy.
Like, I am going to work out after this because my heart rate is so high right now, you guys.
I'm sorry.
We fired
notifications on the Apple Watch going, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, are you stressed?
We need a pickleball game amongst the 4 of us right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And somebody set up the teams. Claire is clearly the most competitive.
She gets,
or maybe I'm just the one that can't control my emotions.
I do see a lot of Michael Jordan in you, Claire, with it became personal with me and just going on a vendetta, and
so I took it personally.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't say hi to me in the locker room. It became personal. That's Claire. That's Claire as a pickleball player.
Yeah.
Well,
but then insanely athletic. That's the part that she's leaving out. It's not that she's just this fiery competitor. It's like, oh, by the way, like the first time we played with you, Claire, I don't even know if you remember this. You actually dove for a ball, and then while you were like basically on your butt, you still played the next shot and hit it over the net.
I do remember that, actually.
And
I forgot about that for a bit.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, she's the real one here. Like, this is, This is...
Helps when you lived, a life where 6 days a week you train for 6 hours, each day.
What's your vert, Claire?
No, awful. I don't want to go down this road, you gues.
Okay.
We're done. Athletes.
We're done.
I don't
We're
talk
done
anymore. But I had a really crappy vert.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a volleyball player, hockey player, and a pickleball player.
God, just
There
call
you
me
go.
old. Just don't say we have a volleyball player, a hockey player, and a
Tennis
pickleball
player.
player.
Tennis player.
I played high school tennis. I love tennis.
Yeah, you're a good
growing
tennis
up.
player.
But then I got into my 40s, and now
There
it's
you go.
pickleball. It's my
Well,
pickleball era.
So I'm just gonna call this podcast Pickleball. I think that might be just a shout out to you, Ian. But thanks so much, all three of you, for doing this, especially for our conversations on our competitiveness outside of the sports realm or the Sens realm. So thanks so much for all of you doing this, and I had a blast, and I feel like I now know the inside and outs of Kyle's room as well and house. So I feel like I've learned a lot tonight. So today. So thanks so much, all three of you, for doing this, and I'll see you at the rink tomorrow.
Congrats on 100.
Thank you so
Yes.
Oh
much.
yeah,
Congrats.
How do we-
Welcome
how
to
do-
podcast syndication.
that's right. How did we not do one of those like standard? I thought you'd be getting us to, hey, I'm Kyle Bukauskas and congratulations, or you're listening to Behind the Play. He didn't even get you to do that. So that's
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 not
for
my
episode 200.
exactly. I need to do.
Ian, Alex never asked you to do that. I thought
Yeah, that's right.
Claire and I, we were
God,
after
Claire and
practice
I,
today. We were in the hallway taping
Yeah.
those for him.
Exactly.
Thought you would have got asked.
Ian,
This is a little awkward.
we all need a tribute video. That's what we all need.
That's
at the
right.
end. Exactly.
Yeah.